All right, so it's time for Journey Interactive, and Aisha has joined me. Hello, Aisha.
Hello, Israel. I love your orange tie.
Thank you.
And okay, so let's go straight to the point. And you know how to join this conversation is on Facebook.com/Joy News on TV, and on Twitter is on Joy News. All right, so it's a day after Workers' Day, and we are still reflecting on the essence of the day. One interesting aspect of the president's address, which has attracted lots of attention, was his call for attitudinal change at our workplaces. Let's take a listen to the president.
We arrive at work late and then spend the first hour in prayer. We are clock watchers and leave in the middle of critical work because it is the official closing time. Everything comes to a stop when it rains, and we seem to expect the rest of the world also to stop. We have no respect for the hours set aside for work. We pray, we eat, we visit during working hours. We spend hours chatting on the telephone when customers are waiting to be served.
And I'm sure you know what the president is talking about. But how are people getting away with this? Is it a problem of deficient systems at the workplace, or is simply people's attitude?
It's a combination of the two. You have a cultural practice that allows us to be taking times off our duty to do other things, as the president said. Here I agree with the president. And here, hey, look, there's lack of supervision at a lot of places. And we have to tighten up supervision if we want to really do well. I think I agree with the president. He was right, he was on point. And we have to push to correct some of these things that are in our system.
We can say that it is attitude, and two, we can say that there's laxity in the public places, especially because as a public worker, you could see that things are not tight. Policies at the management workplaces do not really seek to discipline people. So people take advantage of the laxity and behave the way they behave. On the other hand, there's culture, because we realize that it's been a system for so long and nothing has been done about it. So it becomes part and parcel of organizations.
It's a combination of factors, as I said earlier. You see, Ghanaian workplace is confronted with a lot of bureaucracy. So all these bureaucracies, if you are in a government institution like agencies, you see, sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes with some few people will cause all these problems. I know a lot of workers in the agencies are working as seriously. Like if you come to EPA, some units like SCA units, you see, you wouldn't even have time to sometimes to even eat. Some places too, they are doing it, and sometimes it's not their fault. Some fault may be attributed to the bureaucratic layout that exists in those institutions.
Attitude now at the workplace, and also I may not also consider as one factor. It could be also the system in place at the work. You know, sometimes the system creates gaps for people or workers to create work within their work and do whatever they want without not considering the productivity of the work at the workplace. So for me, it's basically attitudinal and the system in place at the workplace.
Our attitude as Ghanaians, because when we engage the individual in several areas, that is in the aspect of private work, you see that they keep very much to their time. But when they find themselves in the government work, they become very lazy. Such a person, when he or she is running a business for he or himself, you see that the person doesn't mind waking up very early to attend to his or her business when the worker fails to report at the time that he prefers. He is so much on that worker. But for he himself, finding himself in the corporate environment like that of the government, he doesn't want to put in much effort.
All right, let's get straight to Facebook and see what people have been saying.
All right, so we have this one, Nana Kwame. He responds as workers' response. We see politicians work for 4 years and become millionaires, while we work for 30 years and become poor. We see politicians collect fast salaries and date them back to 5 years. while we, the public servants, get meager increase in our pay with only 1 month arrears. We work for 3 years and only get 3 months salary, and you expect us to put in our best. Today is 2nd May, and our salaries have not been paid. Are we supposed to feed on rocks until we correct the injustice? Public service will continue to be like that. So stop the big English and get to work. Emmanuel Amponsa says Ghanaians should be paid hourly for the job they do. This is the only system that can eradicate this sluggishness, this sluggish attitude to work. Hourly paid jobs will foster proper taxation. You can never use your phone or stand idle when at work over here in the UK. You know why? You will be sacked when caught.
And Usman says, Mr. President is right, but the question is how many politicians are ready to sacrifice or work in the civil and public service? Because of the wealth mass by politicians within the shortest time, the public and civil servants are also stealing those times to motivate themselves. Some workers are working overtime, but there's no overtime allowance in public service. Emmanuel Amenua says, just put money and work down. You will see people going for the money and not work. They fail to understand that it is work that brings money. Anyone who has the right attitude towards work will always have money. The media Simon writes, I share with the president on his lamentations. It's sad that most of us earn income that doesn't commensurate with our work output. Generally, most of us have poor attitude towards our work, especially. And he says both employers and employees, especially at the public sector. Senior Kwejo Sapon Jr. says, I'm really at fault. As I heard the president say it yesterday, my heart really melts and I was really sad. Sincerely speaking, today I got to work very early and dumped my phone somewhere till I picked it up now on break. I have made a commitment. Okay, that's a good one. People are changing their attitudes, you know, a day after the president called for it. Also, the ban on Adonko bitters following minors' consumption of the product and subsequently getting drunk has been trending in the past few days. This has raised concerns on how minors are exposed to alcohol. I am concerned, and I'm sure you are concerned too. So the question I ask, what do you think can be done to regulate the exposure of alcohol and prevent minors from its consumption?
I think we can start with the ads. Yeah, the ads can be shown on telly at odd hours, so that when kids are asleep, most kids have parents that make them sleep really early at home. So if they could check those things, they could actually make sure that kids are asleep during those hours before they can show their ads on telly.
Okay. When they go to the bar or like the restaurant to buy maybe an alcohol, they should indicate an ID which shows that maybe they are above 18 before they can be able to purchase. Because I think somewhere in the US or the UK, somewhere like that, I watched a movie or something like that. Before you can purchase an alcohol, you have to indicate your ID which shows that you are more than 18 before they can sell it out to you.
They should limit the alcoholic beverages adverts they do on the television, because right now the kids of today like watching TV a lot. So the house has they keep on watching it. You know, sometimes they don't even read the 18 plus. They has a seat. I don't go bitters. I normally see kids talking about I don't go find it. They normally dance with even that rhythm. So I think they should limit the adverts on the television and have an education also.
Okay.
These young ones sit behind the TV, and whatever thing that they see is what they also absorb. You understand? Today, a young one watches the TV and then see an advert like Opemu, okay? And then they see it, and then since they are young ones, they take it hook, line, sinker. But I mean, if there were to be frameworks, regulations, advertising regulations in order to back these things policy-wise, I don't think that, I mean, it will, the young ones are going to absorb this.
All right, concerns shared by you and I about young ones taking advantage.
Right, and a quick one to chipping. And okay, let's take the comments. Kwabna Yantechi says the country needs to amend its laws on alcohol intake on age restriction limit, and goes on with laws which will punish owners of establishments who sell to people below the age limit. It is the only way to end this overexposure of alcohol to every youth. And Holy Monarch says, a sad reality, some people drink because of the challenges they encounter in life. Some suffered from depression, setbacks, and lack of life. That leaves them with no option but to drink. Give these people life and let them recognize how precious they are to society. Let them understand what they are also entitled to. They are also entitled to a quality of life. The fact that they are not getting what they want doesn't mean that that is the end of them.
Kwabene J says, I think that there should be a counter-advertisement depicting the dangers minors are likely to face when they take alcoholic drinks. Also, government can impose exorbitant taxes on the producers in order to control them. Judicial Sudro Eric says, this is simple. The government should impose high tax on alcoholic drinks and make tax-free on non-alcoholic drinks, and it will affect the price automatically and in some ways will discourage alcoholic producers from producing it. And Abdul Razak says the way adverts are carried in Ghana needs to be looked at again. Alcohol is advertised all the time, early morning when children are awake instead of registering it late in the night when children are asleep. Alcohol are advertised like a commodity which is accepted by both adults and children. And Dave says, well, I think there should be a collaborative work from law enforcement agencies, the Ministry of Health and the government. They should aid people to know the harmful effects of using alcohol, especially starting from our primary schools, churches and mosques. The authorities should also tell the manufacturers to write on them as on cigarettes, very harmful to your health. And one of the things that people haven't mentioned in all of this is the parents at home. What role do parents play in all of these? I think that some parents even buy these adonko bitters and then leave it around where the children can easily find it.
So the parents themselves are being responsible in
definitely. So I think they should also.
Okay, so we have this statement coming from the lawyers for Angel Group of Companies. They are the producers of Adonko bitters, so their company has a subsidiary that produces Adonko bitters, and they say they've petitioned the Food and Drugs Authority over their decisions and actions, particularly in sanctioning Adonko Bitters Limited, and they are hoping that they've made representations to the Food and Drugs Authority. They're hoping that the FDA would quickly act on their petition, so that there will be they anticipate a reversal or the lifting of the ban or the directive on that.
Well, whichever way it goes, we'll be watching and we'll bring you the updates. And on that note, we end the interactive segment. Do we have a video of the day? All right, my director says we do not have a video of the day. So we end the interactive segment. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I had fun. Hope you did too. Have a blessed evening.